Okay, John is going to come up, if I'm correct, talking about systems, and if that is something, a lot of times when people get started, it kind of blows out of the water. They start randomly, it's a little bitty thing, and then you start to scale, and the techniques that you used randomly in the beginning start to crumble. And it happens pretty rapidly. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of systems we put in place to, am I correct in saying that this is putting systems in place to scale?
It's talking about putting systems in place, but also what are systems. A lot of times people don't know what systems are. Am I coming through? Yeah. Am I not coming through now?
It comes through to me, but it doesn't come through to them.
Use a big mic.
I'm special, I get 2 microphones. I'm going to talk about systems that we've implemented, what systems are. A lot of times people have a misconception on systems. Then how important they are. They're important for everything. But question first, who gets excited thinking or talking about systems? Okay, that's a lot more hands than I was expecting. I was expecting to see one back there and that was it. So a little bit of background on myself. Spent 5 years in the Marine Corps. After that, I was IT, Semper Fi. So systems, processes, procedures. You do it this way. You follow this. It goes here. You go over here. It just makes sense to me. I love them. It's weird, I know, but I really love them. So after getting out of IT, coming into real estate, I was a one-man show, and there's no need for real systems. It's all up here in my head, right? It's easy. You keep up with everything. Who's been there? Okay, and then did you try to get a little help or try to do a little bit more yourself? And all of a sudden you had this massive mess of crap everywhere, and you were lost. You lost money. You wasted advertising dollars if you're advertising. If you were doing a rehab, all of a sudden you realize, oh crap, I have to rewire the house and I've already painted it. I've done all the sheetrock work. There's lots of ways that systems come into play. I am going to need a little bit of participation, so thank you all so far for that. Systems. A lot of times when people think about systems or people talk about systems, they talk about buying this software or subscribing to this website. So we think of computers a lot of the time. Is that all that systems are?
No.
What's another system, Mark?
Policy and procedure.
Exactly. Procedures, policies, processes. Processes make up your system. So think of pilots. We had Andy up here earlier. Pilots have strict checklists that they go through, all these specific processes to get you through the system, which is the flight. Of course, there's lots of stuff besides the pilot, but just kind of putting that out there. Probate. I made this note when Jackie was talking. If probate's not done right, what happens? You have to go back and fix it. She just did that for one of my closings a few weeks ago, I think, a few months ago. Probate wasn't done correctly, and we've had all kinds of fun. So, processes and systems will help you become more productive. Is that fair to say?
Yep.
Does anybody disagree? Who hates systems? My wife put her hand up in the air.
I don't know that I hate them.
Earlier I said I love systems. I do. I love putting them in place. I love thinking of them. I love kind of getting them together. But then when it comes to me actually following them, it's hard. So even for somebody who likes systems, it's hard to stay in them. You get busy, you get moving on. You end up getting caught in it, and that's normal. But what you can't do is fall off the wayside and not follow it anymore. To help create order, to help you keep disciplined, make sure you're doing the right things, make sure you're not making mistakes, and they end up saving you a lot of time. If you're trying to grow, you have your systems, your policies and procedures, as Mark pointed out. It's easy to say, here's the policies and procedures, here's the process, I need you to do this. instead of, well, it's gonna take me longer to show you how to do it, then I may as well just do it myself. And then you're working 18 hours trying to do something, and you could have been making a lot more bigger impact on your folks you're trying to help in on your business. Some of the computer systems I use. We use PropStream, we use I always mess up with this one, Propelio, CallRail, Rike. Most people haven't heard of Rike. It's very similar to Asana. It's task management. So there's a process there of actually making sure our processes are correct. The county assessor's website, the treasurer's website. These are all things that we use on a daily basis. Non-computer type systems, checklists. They're boring. I know. They're very important. When Wade was talking about inspections, he has a checklist he goes down. That way you know he's not forgetting something. Today's day and age with digital, it kind of gets a little bit more difficult trying to do checklists with multiple people, especially if they're working remote. But there's plenty of websites, there's plenty of free options that make it easy to do that kind of stuff, or easier, I should say. Breaking it down easy, or breaking it down real simple. Whiteboards, massive whiteboards at our office where we track all of our properties. Are they up there just randomly? No, we've got, upper left is under contract. Lower left is we have purchased, but we haven't started on the rehab yet. Upper right, we're in rehab. Lower right, we're in disposition. So let me back up. We wholesale a little bit, buy direct, we flip, we have rentals, we do a little bit of everything in our office. That whiteboard, even though we have all this information in our computer systems, having it in our face when we're walking around helps. It helps a lot. It's easy to look up there and see it and just know what's going on. Some of our subsystems, we have an actual system for acquisitions. Within that, we have different processes. Does that make sense? So our system with acquisitions, would it be safe to say or assume that it starts with marketing? How do we get marketing ready? So the acquisitions process actually starts way over here, identifying how to market, where to market, when to market, how much to spend, doing the budgeting. So we have this as a whole process. Dispositions, that's multiple ways. Are we going to assign it? Are we going to wholesale it? Are we going to go ahead and take it down and flip it, turn it into a rental? Lots of moving parts there. We manage our own rentals, so that makes it in some ways easier, sometimes more difficult. But it helps for a person on staff that does our property management to know, hey, this is going to be a rental. I need to be ready for this. I need to know what the rent's going to be. I need to know what work's going to be needed at the house, at the rental, and be ready to move forward. Is there a tenant already in there? The tenant's in there? Okay. Great. Do they have a lease? Are they month to month? Have they paid? These are all things that if you don't have some sort of system or process in place, they're going to get missed. Property maintenance, tenant calls. I have an emergency. Doesn't matter what it is in this example. It's not really an emergency. If you don't have some sort of process in place on how to handle those tenant issues, what's going to happen? You're going to call somebody to go out, or you're going to go out, get there, spend your time, and then go, this could have waited till Monday. There was no reason I had to come over here right now. Systems and processes. Mark, I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
What would you say the most important system is in your business?
If you would have asked me that 6 months ago, I'd give you a different answer.
Here, I'm gonna,
So if you would have asked me that 6 months ago, I would have gave a different answer. Probably knowing who to hire next for me right now, where I'm at, was key. my business was about to fail until I got an operations manager to come in and go, you are screwing up big time, I need to help you. And she is. She's helping me a lot. She's right over there. Her name's Teresa Holbert, and a lifesaver to local house buyers, just being candid and honest with you guys.
Awesome. Process. Things change. So he takes me down to a bullet point that I had further down, but your processes, your systems are going to evolve over time. They're going to change. You can't just write them down, which I'll talk about that in a second. You can't just write them down and then post them on the wall, I mean, theoretically, and everything's good. It's all documented. I've covered every situation that could ever happen. That's what the law kind of tries to do, right? You know, put everything down on paper and it's just going to be real easy. So you have to acknowledge that things are going to change. Things are going to come up that you haven't anticipated, and your systems aren't going to be perfect. They need to be able to adapt a little bit when they're needed to. A system, I skipped over this a little bit ago, a system is really a collection of processes. So you may have a process for this, and a process for this, and a process for this, but all together they make up a system. Within those small processes, they may actually be systems of their own or have sub-processes. Some of ours, I'm just going to go through a few. We have advertising planning, actual advertising, lead intake, appointment preparation, appointments, whether it's on the phone or in person, post-appointment, follow-up, contract to closing. There's a lot of steps in there. Bree, you probably don't know it, but I'm going to ask you anyways. Do you know how many steps are in our template for contract to closing? I want to say it's about 80. I want to say it's about 80 that we've mapped out. And it's things that we don't remember. Oh crap, we need to get that yard mowed once it gets closed. Or we need to get the utilities cut over. Or hey, this time we're not going to turn the utilities over yet because we're letting the seller stay for 2 weeks. Insurance, yep, that's one of the steps on there as well. Both when we buy and when we close, making sure we're getting insurance paid. Yep, we had that. Yep, that was a system that failed at one point. We paid for about 6 months of insurance that we didn't need to. Pre-construction, so planning on it. Through the actual construction process itself, whether it's a make-ready or it's a down-to-studs rehab, we have specific steps. Some things need to happen before others. You need to look at the electrical and know if you're going to need to rewire it. Hopefully you know that before you buy the property, but do that before you have sheetrock done. It sounds simple and it sounds stupid to me, just have to say that, but if you don't have it mapped out, people will just kind of go and start doing their own thing, and then it ends up costing you money. Some of the biggest ones that, I'll be honest, that we have failed on ourselves as a company are with our tenants. Where to start? People get overwhelmed when they start thinking, oh God, I have to come up with systems. That seems so big, that seems so hard. Well, there's some people who help people with systems. They help them, they mentor them, etc. Even if you're not at that point, write it down. Start. There's software you can do it for free, but just write down your steps. What am I doing? Okay, I get the contract. For instance, on acquisitions, we're getting the contract. Okay, is the contract filled out correctly? Has everybody signed it? Great. What happens now? Could be different for different people. Mark may send it straight over to a title company. I send it through our task management software. I upload it there, and it goes out to our team, and then our team, different team members have different tasks. It automatically goes into our task management software. The lead manager, I'm sorry, not the lead manager, the transaction coordinator gets it, sends it over to the title company. Has all the information that they need to know in there. Purchase price, are they going to stay? Are there any strange situations? What's the rehab budget? Is the person married? Started including that right then. What's their mailing address? What's their phone number? What's their email address? Making it easier for the title company, making it easier for our transaction coordinator but then also easier overall for all of us because we can look and see, has this been done? Has this been done? Has this not been done? Why is this late? When it comes back to our systems, we use some custom stuff that we enjoy, that we have found useful for us, but most of it comes back to our transaction or our task management software. Who here knows of Asana? Who here has heard of Reich?
I can't understand what you're saying.
I asked who had heard of the software Reich.
Right?
Reich. It is very similar to Asana. Most people I know that use something like this use Asana. Asana's great. Several years ago, we ended up using Reich. We love it. It has what's called a Gantt chart built into it. So for those that are visual, you can see exactly what tasks need to happen now. If they're past the line on the left, they're overdue. Something's wrong. There's dependencies. So we can't close until we get a clear title commitment. Well, if we're coming over here and we're saying we're going to close, but we haven't completed the clear title task, something's wrong. We've missed something. Are we trying to jump ahead and we may have scheduled the closing, but we haven't got a title commitment back. Probably need to let the seller know. Does that make sense? There are different systems for property management. We use Buildium. Appfolio is another very good one, I think, for mainly larger portfolios or property management companies. What are some other systems that y'all use to track your tenants or track your leases or collect payment for tenants? Tenant Cloud?
How do you spell right?
W-R-I-K-E. So we've got Tenant Cloud. Anything else that people are using now to collect payments from tenants? Venmo, Cash App. Okay, a question, how do you track that? How do you know if they've sent it to you or not?
I get a text message, an email, from both, so,
And then do you just mentally make note of, I received 10?
yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, no, I write it down. I've also got a spreadsheet that I can write it down on and then also add it. So I do it on paper and then also got a spreadsheet in Google Sheets.
Good, you hit right where I was hoping you would. Spreadsheets. Spreadsheets are a good starting point for most people's systems. It's an easy way to track things. They can get very complex and at that point you may need to grow out, but there's nothing wrong with it. What'd you say, Dean?
So not mine. Mine's super simple.
That's fine. Does it work for you?
It works great.
Does it help you make sure your tenants are paying on time? That's a system. That's working for them. That's awesome. And it doesn't cost an arm and a leg.
For free.
Yep. Wait,
We use, our business model is a little bit different than rentals, but we use a CRM system to keep track of. We use a CRM system to keep track of every job that we do, details about it so we can run statistical analysis and see who we need to market to and better, but most importantly, who's paid and who hasn't, and who's past due and hasn't, and that way we can follow up with the title companies, just like I'm sure Jackie does whenever she carries stuff to closing and some of the other contractors to make sure we get paid on that.
yeah, because it would be very easy for y'all to forget about it for, I mean, honestly, when you're busy, few weeks, few months, and then, oh crap, that closed 60 days ago. Have fun getting your money at that point. For our CRM, I'm not gonna say the name of what we use because I think it's very horrible. But I don't want to put it out there on anything that may be said on what it is, but they used to have a component on, what's the one that everybody uses? Mark? Podio. They used to have a layer on top of Podio and they created their own, and I made the mistake of moving over to it, and now it's a very slow process getting off of a bad system. Most investors I know use some sort of Podio. There's other CRMs out there. lot of them are based on Podio. The point that I'm making there is get something that works well for you and how your team works. If you don't deal with tenants, then you don't need to worry about anything that may have a tenant portal or anything along those lines. Amy, what do we use for accounting? QuickBooks, shocker. I think just about, I mean, there's some other things like FreshBooks and some other options, but what'd you say, NetSuite?
NetSuite.
Yep, NetSuite. QuickBooks is very, very common, not my cup of tea. I'm not that detail oriented to it. CallRail. CallRail is probably, as far as I know, the most common phone system that investors use. It's not perfect, but it does have some great features, helps with a lot of organization. It'll interact with most CRMs. So any interactions with the sellers come straight in. I lost my train of thought. I love it when that happens, and my wife is laughing. Yes?
What about Google Voice?
Google Voice, I don't know anybody that's using Google Voice. I'm assuming except for you. You like it? No?
I'm not using it.
Okay.
But I know people that are, so it's like,
I never have.
I'm not.
I never have because I track our advertising fanatically.
Yeah.
We have, I think, about 30 different phone numbers. What? If we have multiple people going onto our website at once, I want to know what page each person was on when they clicked. I want to be able to track what other pages they went to on our website. Well, if they go to the website and then they call, there's no good way to know what they did. There's no way to connect those two. So we have a number of different phone numbers that get dynamically put onto our website for those people when they're on there. So it enables the,
Ever use Zoho?
no.
No, you can actually watch them navigate your website until they call in.
You can watch them navigate your website on Zoho. That's cool. That's real cool.
Zoho?
ZOHO. That's really nice. It's important to know, we're getting kind of into one of the processes or systems, but it's important to know what people are responding to as far as advertising. So we've got those numbers. We have, if you just go straight to our website, if you go through different ads through Google, we have different numbers, different pieces of mail. If we change our mail, we want to know if it's working or not. We want to know if when that mail starts dropping. So anytime we make a little change to our mail piece, there goes a new number. Well, are we going to throw away the old number? No, so a lot of them end up sitting, not getting a lot of traction. But I want to know if somebody calls back. A week or two ago, we had a call that came in on a postcard that we sent out a year and a half ago. I know we've sent more postcards to that person, but it was that postcard from a year and a half ago that they had kept for some reason and called on that one. Helps me make better decisions with our ad spend. Mapping out, let me go back to that, I'm sorry. Start on a macro level. Start big. What are the big functions that you do? If you're a wholesaler, you're advertising somehow, maybe bandit signs, maybe mailers, maybe a lot of different things, but you've got your advertising. Then your leads. When they come in, what are you doing? Are you answering them? If you don't answer them, does it go to a voicemail? Does it go to a call center? Does it go to Pat Live? There's all these steps. Don't get that far down into the weeds right off the bat. Just go over the major parts. Advertising, lead intake. What happens when you get a contract? Dispositions. Then start going in and identifying the little pieces that connect them and the little details that often get left out. And just know they're going to change. It's okay. Stuff's not always going to work right. Take it, move it, get it moved on. Roger, I don't want to ask if anybody has questions right now, if I'm not supposed to.
Does anybody have questions? I'll ask more.
Yeah.
What do you mean by dispositions?
What do I mean by dispositions? Getting rid of properties. So could be assigning them, could be wholesaling them, could be listing them on MLS. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Do you use some kind of software to see if a number is flagged? Like on Google or something?
Do I use some sort of software to know if a number is flagged? No, I do not. That is an area that I need to improve on. Most folks that I know that are checking to find out if something's flagged are doing it manually.
They just call it.
Yeah, they have somebody call once a day and, yes.
What was CRM and Podio?
Podio is a CRM. There are a number of different add-ons to Podio that you can use. CRM is an acronym for Customer Relationship Management. Any other questions?
Do you do any consulting?
No, but if anybody has any questions, I don't always reply right away, but I would be happy to help out, chat however I can. My number is 405-697-0068. You can call or text, either one.
What's it worth to you?
On your, whenever you set up your processes and procedures, do you like a specific piece of software, or do you just throw them in a PDF document? If you want to reference how to do X, you go to that document.
That is a great question. He asked, when I'm mapping out basically the processes and procedures, how do I do that? Is there a software I use? We use Lucid charts. It's easy. You can have them link between the different charts. So if you have a large, you can't hear? Okay.
What'd you say?
Lucid charts. Yes. You can have the different pages linked to other pages. So if you have a 10,000 foot view, and then you can double click on a process or procedure, whatever the case is, and it'll take you to another one. So you can drill down into those different levels. And then it's easy to share, it's easy to print it out if you need it. You can link to other pages, you can put videos in it, it's all kinds of stuff.
Link to Drive too.
Yeah, to link to Drive, thank you. Yes?
For processes and systems, there's companies that'll sell, like they're called McDonald's, it's a franchise. Did you start with, like, how long have you been building this, how long did it take, you're pretty well doing well?
The question he asked is there's essentially companies that have their own systems and procedures and they license that out like a franchise model type aspect. I was part of a franchise at one point. I'm no longer part of that franchise. I came up with ours on my own.
How many years? Sorry if I missed it.
Oh, no, you're fine. Over the last 4.5 years, really, 4.5 to 5 years. It was right at 4 years ago that I hired my first assistant, and that helped a lot, but then it's just grown and grown and grown.
Who are you with?
Integrity Home Buyers. One more question? Who wants the last question? Yes?
Well, can you say the meaning behind your logo and why it's in different colors?
You're going deep there.
Ooh, let's answer that one real brief. No, as a joke, he was in the Marine Corps, I was in the Marine Corps, and they used to call us crayon eaters. And that was the one thing that came up when he just stood up. I was like, oh, he colored in his own logo.
I have not much to do with the logo. My wife and I thought that a buffalo would be good. Being from Oklahoma, I mean, it's just common. And we were trying to come up with ideas, and we thought of a geometric, multicolor thing. So we got on Upwork or Fiverr, I don't remember which, and had a bunch of people make different logos for us, and this just happened to be the one we liked. So no crazy meaning behind them, but thank you for letting me have one last question.
Thank you very much.